these coasters.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we added coasters, but then also these, is when you'd be sitting here, and if you put your hands on the table or put this down like that, it sounded like an earthquake on the audio because it was so loud. And so,
And you can't tell until the video's over.
right. So these help with the vibration of what's going up through the arm, and then of course the felt pads help with some more vibration.
Cool.
Tony DeRiggi, thanks
you
for
doing,
hanging
Blake?
out with me today.
You got it.
Going to ask you some questions. Like in my email, we talked about 3 things that I want to get out of it: marketing for Compass, generally to clients, marketing for you that you can use, and then recruiting marketing materials. So it's kind of be what all the questions are based off. Did you go through them at all, other than the first
I
one?
skimmed them
now?
yesterday by the
that's fine.
pool.
The pool that wasn't working?
Yeah, we were sitting around the
Just
pool. not
sunbathing?
in it. Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me how you came to Compass, how long you've been here, and how long you've been in the lending world for.
Yeah. So I was about 4 when my dad built our last family home. I was the youngest of 7 kids, and they had a girl and then a boy and then 4 more girls.
Wow.
And then me. So when I came along, my dad grabbed me and brought me everywhere with him. And that was even to the construction site of the new house that he was building for us. So
You were along for the ride no matter what.
yeah, I think I connected with my dad on kind of an emotional level around this real estate construction. I figured this out maybe only a year ago, you know, because he was pretty young shortly after when he passed away. But so I think real estate is just kind of something I've always been passionate about. When my wife and I got married 34 years ago, we started buying and selling homes, investment properties, after we bought our first primary residence. And we've done in 34 years around 100 purchases and sales of investment properties. Some we kept for a while, like rentals, and but that led me to meeting Skip Brown, and he introduced me to a couple investment loans that helped me, you know, collect some investment properties. And then I interviewed with Dan and realized I wanted to get into the mortgage industry to help other people, you know, have happy memories with their family in their own home, and maybe create some wealth too along the way with it.
It's awesome.
So that's kind of.
So how long have you been in the industry now?
I've been here at Compass 19 years,
Wow.
and that's really the full time in the industry.
I was
there was
just
a
gonna say,
broker
yeah.
I worked for before that. I tried it out, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a good fit. It was small mom and pop shop, and they had no support, and you know, nothing like Compass. When I interviewed with Dan, I realized just in that interview that our core values were, you know, really aligned. So I didn't have a long decision to make after that to come to work here.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more about why you've stayed at Compass. 19 years is a long time at one job, not only in any job, but especially in the lending industry. People seem
Yeah.
to move quite often. What's kept you here at Compass?
Just that. Our core values are the same. You know, we have the same passion for serving clients. You know, it's not hard to figure out when Dan passes out tools for us to work with that, you know, I'm right on board with it, because it's something he thought was good, and I automatically, since we're kind of aligned that way, think it's a good idea. For instance, the Get Committed program, which I know you'll probably want to ask me about.
Tell me about the Get Committed program.
Well,
What is
it's
it?
funny you should ask. So 11 years ago, we woke up from a housing crash of values to almost overnight, January of 2013, being in a seller's market where there's more buyers now than there were sellers. You know, Dan realized that right away, came to a few of us and said, hey, I think we're going to try and help clients win out, because there's multiple offers on the same homes, by getting them fully approved and making them better than cash buyers. That's basically what it does.
Yeah. So one of my questions that was going to lead up into that is pre-qual, pre-approval, loan commitment, or Get Committed. What are they, and what would you choose for the majority of your clients?
Yeah. So that's a conversation I have with every client. First thing is, hey, why are you passionate about buying a house? And the second thing is, are you aware of the problem in the market, which is the lack of supply? And then I go into the details about, there's pre-qual, which is what we could do over the phone right now. Just gather information, run some numbers, you qualify for this amount, that's a pre-qualification. Pre-approval adds their income and asset documents to it, along with a credit report on both. And then they're pre-approved, and that's where all banks stop, and they send them out shopping. Well, you might as well light a candle and say a prayer, for your client if that's all you're going to give them in this market, because there's cash buyers just about on every deal. There's a relative stepping in, whoever is giving these buyers the cash, they're getting some cash. So our buyers, we think, are better than cash, and I'll go into that later. But so we get them through the next step, which is just go through underwriting, get you clear to close, and issue you what's called a commitment letter, but the commitment actually comes from the lender, not the buyer. So the buyer's not committed to anything with us. We're committed to delivering the cash to the seller within 15 days of the signed contract.
Wow. So you would suggest as many people as possible in this market should be using.
Every client I talk to, I say this is the only path to winning out, really. I mean, unless you want to just hope you find some house that not a lot of people want.
Right.
That's an option.
So tell me an experience you've had with a client where either they didn't do our Get Committed program right off the bat and opted for the pre-approval, or did, and the only reason that we think they got the house they're in is because of the Get Committed program.
Yeah. So there was probably one or two in the past that decided in the beginning, well, let's just hold off here. They hear the word commitment letter, and I try not to use the word commitment because the commitment comes from the bank, not from the client. But, full credit approval is another term. But, yeah, they held off. They went out, tried it on their own. One of my clients was in 8 different offers. He has a dad that's a realtor. So he was just like, get the pre-approval letter. Let's get out shopping, his dad.
Yeah,
so he's listening to his dad. And I think they made 8 offers in 2 weeks. No luck. Calls me up. I usually follow up every week on a pre-approval and make sure I'm available if they have any questions. And so the second time I followed up, he's like, yeah, we're not having any luck with this. Let's do the, full
Whatever
credit
that
approval.
program is.
Yeah. So that particular client, I got 2 programs. One was down payment assistance, which we have readily available for people if they don't have enough money to close. And then 2, the commitment letter, which aided in winning out in the first place, because he wouldn't have had a house to close on with the down payment assistance if he didn't win out in the beginning. So that buyer, we kind of use 2 programs, even though Get Committed isn't really a lending program. It's more of just a strategy. But, it's so that particular
So does now that dad, the realtor, work with you as a referral partner?
Yeah.
Is he a believer?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned loan product. I remember when I bought my first house, I thought a mortgage was a mortgage, right? So talk to me about what is different when it comes to loan products. Obviously, I don't need to go out and find my own loan product. That's your specialty to help me find what I need.
Yeah.
But tell me about some of those differences. What are the differences between different loan products that might be more accessible or appropriate for different buyers?
Yeah. So there's different loan products. There's conventional loans, which in today's market, even though there's a lot of education out there, a lot of listing agents that represent the seller think a conventional loan is the best loan. And the reason they think this is because prior to 2010's Dodd-Frank bill, appraisal checklists were different on different loans. Like, for instance, the government-backed loans, which is VA and FHA, they had a really tough checklist for appraisal. And as a seller, you might get stung with having to do a new roof or fixing a leak or whatever. When 2010 hit and they put out the Dodd-Frank bill, the conventional appraisal checklist matched the FHA and VA. So now it's kind of like all loan programs are equal, even though not every listing agent knows that when they get an offer. So I kind of do a proactive lending call and explain that. But still, most people would like to be in a conventional loan if they're not a veteran. versus an
Right.
FHA loan.
Yep.
So we try and help them see the two differences, but conventional loan is one program. And that's probably one of the most widely used ones. FHA is a government-insured loan, just as good as a conventional loan, actually easier to qualify for. So if I have somebody struggling on a conventional, I'll show them the FHA too and compare them. And a lot of people pick FHA over conventional because the payment's usually lower. They qualify for more home. And then, of course, VA is reserved for an elite 2% of the population who's been a veteran or is a veteran. And that is by far the easiest loan to qualify for, and you can put as little as $0 down out of your pocket.
Wow.
And
So there's a lot
that's-
of programs out there for people.
Yeah. So those are kind of the main three when it comes to programs. I don't know if that answered your
Yeah,
question.
that totally does. So tell me a little bit more about FHA loans and how you go about convincing, I guess you'd say, the selling agent that this loan is just as good as the conventional loan another offer might have. My client is
question.
either just as good, if not better, than them.
And I can almost guess, because the buyer's agent I might be working with, if it's not somebody that's worked with me before, and we have a buyer that's got either FHA or VA, they start giving me signs that they're not completely convinced this is going to work. Hey, can't you get them approved conventionally?
Right.
Conventional just has a better sound to it.
Yeah.
It's conventional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gave them the options. They picked what they want, but in this case, maybe they had to go FHA because their debt to income was 56.9%. So conventional just doesn't allow that.
Right.
Or, do you want them to spend less? I can maybe get them done conventionally. We can try that route if they spend less, but that's usually not a good strategy in today's
Right.
price market
Right.
because it's so high. But, so I always have done, even prior to our Get Committed program, a proactive lender call to the seller. Hey, buyer's agent and buyer, when you guys make your offer, let me know when it's all over there. I'll wait a half hour, call, make sure they've seen the offer, and just give them a proactive lender call, just assuring them this is a great buyer. Oh, by the way, we have a Get Committed program that we do that's guaranteeing we close in 15 days and the cash is already available. Their mortgage is all done.
Yeah.
And even when our buyer's agent knows that, a lot of times the listing agent is surprised to hear that. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. Maybe they just didn't look everything over. They had 8 offers, so it's, gets a little confusing sometimes for the listing agents. But it's kind of nice to reiterate that to them, number
Right.
one, and then be the last person on their mind. Our client is kind of top of mind then when they go back to the seller. So if it's like, hey, all offers in by Tuesday, I might do an active call now and then another one on Tuesday. These are just some things I've realized that really help, because when I'm a buyer out there with investment properties, I'm calling the listing agent
Right.
over and over. Like, hey,
Hey, remember me.
anything-
Remember me.
anything I can do to win out on this, just let me know. And sometimes they let you know. Like, hey, a quick close is important. Or my buyer or my seller doesn't want to close quick.
Right.
Oh, well, that's fine. We'll be ready. Close as long as you need.
Yeah.
It's not always about the 15-day close, but it's good to know that you have that available.
Shows you as a flexible buyer at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the responses that you get from the selling agent when you first talk to them about the Get Committed? I'm sure there's either they brushed it off like, oh, yeah, another pre-approval, or there's complete surprise like that exists. What are some of the things that you've heard?
Yeah. They sometimes don't get it the first time. Most do, but every once in a while you hear the word pre-approval back, and I'm like, I just want to make sure you realize it's approved, and we don't really have a mortgage contingency
Right.
other than maybe the buyer wanted one in the contract, or, there's not really anything left to do except appraise the property and close.
Wow.
And then a lot of times you find out from the listing agent when you say appraise the property and close that if there's an issue on an appraisal that they're worried about, like, there was some leaky water in the basement and we had it fixed, but, FHA is usually tough on that, right? Or, they might pick on an FHA program because the house has a deficiency, and it's like post-2010, all programs are going to call out an active leak. But if
Right.
it's been repaired and you have paperwork or whatever. It shouldn't be a
good
problem
to go.
for either
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. Cool. Why would a client want to work with Tony DeRiggi at Compass Mortgage?
I think for a lot of reasons that we already maybe went over, I've been a real estate investor for 34 years. This is something that I'm in the game all the time with. So I'm aware of a lot of things. They'll often ask me questions when they start realizing that I am doing this myself actively, out buying and selling properties. They'll call me versus their agent sometimes, getting some advice like that. I try and send them back to their agent because that's kind of the right thing to do. But I give them advice from a personal standpoint, and that really strengthens our relationship. I have hundreds of Google reviews that show that my clients had a great experience. I helped them win out, especially with the commitment letter. I continue the relationship for years on end, for the life of the loan, for the life of their buying real estate, hopefully. And, just a relationship type banking that we've set up here at Compass that they really like.
I like it. So talk to me like I'm a first-time home buyer, never done this, or even a new buyer after, being out, being in a home for 10, 15 years. What should I be ready for today? Like if I'm going to call you up, say, hey, Tony, I want to buy a house, but I'm a little anxious to give you a call because I don't feel like I'm prepared for the call. What would you say are the things I should be prepared for when calling a lender?
Yeah. I'm not a big checklist guy, but I try and take things step by step with people. The minute you start forecasting what's going to happen, clients tend to get lost, especially if they're first timers at this. So, I'm like, hey, our first meeting is going to go over this, and just have this in your mind. Like, where do you work? What's your name? What's your address? Things you'll know the answers to.
Yep.
You don't have to have your accounts pulled up necessarily or anything like that. So, and then at the end of that meeting, I'll give them a preview to the second step. So I try and forecast things, but you give too many steps, like especially all the way through closing.
Right.
There's a lot of things that occur when you buy a house. So it's tough really to forewarn people, but as you're talking to them, questions come up and you're able to give them kind of like the next step or maybe the next few steps. People aren't dumb, they know, but it's like, well, we did talk about that, like when something comes up and they're shocked. It's like we went over that at the beginning. I don't expect you to remember all that, but I try and at least forecast a couple steps in. But there's probably a good 10 major steps to the process. So it's not an easy, this isn't the easiest thing to do. That's what makes our job so much more rewarding, is that you can take people through this. That's why my mission and passion was to get into this and help other people, because I had so many things that I did in real estate that were mistakes. And so now I'm here to kind of help somebody buy their first house for the second time, so to speak, because I've done it before.
That's awesome. We've talked about core values a little bit. Here at Compass, our core values are infinite worth, excellence, and integrity. How do you use those in your own daily life and in your business on a day-to-day basis?
I think the biggest one for me is infinite worth. Like clients are very valuable. And the more you relay that to them and really prove it to them, don't just say, hey, we value you so much and then forget about them. So I really try, and my team tries to just create an atmosphere that lets them know they're very valuable to us. We perceive them with infinite worth. And to me, that's the most important one.
It's awesome.
Of the three.
Love it. Home to a better mortgage experience is our tagline here at Compass. How have you related to that in how you serve your clients, and why should a tagline like home to a better mortgage experience matter to a client?
Well, there's no business that's perfect. So if you're going to compare to other businesses in the industry, I think it's true, and that's why Dan came up with that tagline, was that we are a better mortgage experience. And just things that we've come up with doing for the client, such as 11 years ago, the Get Committed program where we get them all through underwriting free of charge and send them out shopping basically better than a cash buyer. That's huge. And that's one thing we've been doing that's lasted because the market just keeps getting less and less inventory. There's a need for that. And most banks don't do it because, frankly, it's expensive on the business bottom end of it, of things to do that.
There's a lot of risk to Compass to do a Get Committed loan, right?
Yeah, you're originating every buyer that hasn't even closed on a house yet. When most banks don't do that unless you've got a contract. I don't know of any bank that really does that unless you have a contract.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a better experience right there. I mean, we're just arming our clients with the best tools.
Yep. Arming them to win, right?
That's right.
I love it. Something we adopted a few years ago in the sales aspect at Compass was community strategy. I know you've adopted a lot of different facets of what that looks like, but how have you taken community strategy and put that into practice in your own business at Compass?
So in the community, there's one organization that I've focused on for years, probably 20 years ago. I started going to their events, and then soon I was helping set up events, and they're called Bridge Communities. And they help house homeless families in DuPage County. And the founder of the company, or of the charity, his goal was to have a 2-year program where it was kind of like a landing pad where they get the families in, train them, and get them back out into society. So it's not an organization that just lets you stay there. You know, it's a really good, and these people sometimes buy houses too,
Wow.
which I didn't realize the end result of that where I would be able to step in and help. But that's been something in the community that I've really been passionate about supporting.
Why that community? What brought you to that one?
Like I said, they were right in Glen Ellen, their office, and I'm a Glen Ellen boy. And so we used to go to their events, the backyard barbecue. And it started out in literally someone's backyard. One of my old classmates,
Wow.
she would sing there with her band, you know, and she was the only band, I think, in the first one that
Was that Lisa Renee?
No.
Oh, was it? I don't know why I thought it was her. Oh, that would have been funny.
So yeah, that's kind of how I got started, just by going there and being entertained, you know.
Yeah.
And then I realized what they were doing and started, just like I said, setting up and helping out.
How cool is that? So I know you're really good at having a relationship not only with your clients but with your referral partners, different agents, and people you can refer business back and forth with. Why do you think it's important for your clients for you to have those relationships with your referral partners?
I think a lot of people that are buying homes don't have a relationship with an agent. They don't have a relationship with an attorney. They don't necessarily have a relationship with a auto insurance or home insurance agent, home inspectors. So I have relationships where when my client starts working with me, I suggest my whole team of referral partners to help them. We're all, you know, I'm sure this group is trained to be the best professionals that they could use. Now, not every client uses everybody I recommend, but that's why I think it's important, so that the buyer has the best experience. Because if they're just randomly picking people that they don't know, or maybe somebody referred them down the road, and, you know, it's not as congruent of a team working together towards the end goal.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest importance, is for the client to have these relationships that I can trust, that are going to do a great job.
I like it. So yeah, you just mentioned trust, right? You have a lot of trust in these referral partners, and you pass that on to your clients.
Right.
How do you get your clients to trust you in such a way that they say, hey, Tony recommended this guy or this girl, you know, I'm going to go work with them. Tell me about how you build that trust with your client database.
Well, up until this point, the client and I have had a short relationship, let's say, or maybe it's a repeat relationship. So they kind of already trust me, and then I mention to them a buyer's agent in their area that is a very good, you know, negotiator. They'll help them win out. They understand our Get Committed program.
Yep.
I've worked with them a long time. They're really great. Is it okay if they give you a call? Oh, of course. So it's kind of like they trust me already. So if I'm presenting a buyer's agent or an attorney to them, they're probably going to at least try it out.
Cool. You had mentioned that that Compass is the only place that you've done lending except for a broker for just a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
But you've been in sales before Compass, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe Compass's sales culture? How is it different from other companies that you've worked for? How is it the same? What do you love about it?
Well, I only worked for one other company. Well, actually two, but one was right out of college. I tried it for 3 months, and then I went to the company that I was with before Compass. But I think in general, sales is sales. There's a relationship you're building with your client.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trust factor, and there's delivering on what you said you would do. So that's kind of the same in every industry, I think. When I came here, not as many people believed they were in sales as they do now.
Right.
So there was this kind of mentality in the lending world that I'm a banker and I'm not a salesperson, but you kind of are.
You are.
You're selling a product just like, money lending is a product. So that's where I think it's changed a little bit where, and bankers are now into social media and they're
Right.
promoting their businesses, and it's different than it was when I got my first loan before I got in the business. It was a different atmosphere than it is now.
How is your relationship with other salespeople or loan officers? Do you feel like you can bounce ideas off of them? Do you feel like, hey, they have their clients, they're not willing to give me their secret sauce, they're in their corner, or do you feel like there's more collaboration here at Compass?
I think at Compass, maybe versus the last company I was at, it's a different atmosphere in for the good, because I think most people or everybody here believes there's enough abundance for everyone. Mm-hmm. In other words, if I share something with you, I'm not going to lose business. I'm just helping you grow yours.
Mm-hmm.
There's an infinite amount, I believe there's an infinite amount of abundance in the world, and we just all need to start taking it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What do you appreciate the most about how Compass supports you in your business each day?
There's a lot of support here, and boy, do I need it.
We all do.
I probably more than anybody use the support, maybe more than I should, but no, they offer a lot of support, and even the in-person atmosphere, which I think a lot of businesses have lost. I think that helps a lot here at Compass, where if you know anybody that works at a different lender and talk to them, they're working from home. They don't see their coworkers. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cold, so I think we've done a better job at that.
Cool. Something that we talk about here when it comes to our loan officers is being in partnership with you. You're not just an employee at Compass Mortgage. You're a partner with us, right, in the lending world. What's that mean to you, and how does that affect your business?
Well, what it means to me is that the company, the individuals, it's not really, I think of our company as people, but they're not only working with me for an end goal, but they're also we're pitching in half and half almost financially towards the end goal. So we're not only partners, in a personal effect, but also in a financial regard. Mm-hmm. So we truly are partners.
That's awesome. What would you say to somebody who's considering a career being a loan officer, or even in the mortgage world? What are the things that you would tell somebody?
When people first come in, I often talk to them here at Compass, so the new people that come in that go through our Compass University school. And by the way, we really make sure they're ready before they start, so that's a good thing for clients. Mm-hmm. But I tell them, there's no walk-in traffic, really. You've got to bring people in. So think about everybody that would love to hear from you on the phone. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like your wedding list, the people that came to your wedding. and this is really old school sales talk, but create that wedding list. Like, who was at your wedding? Who would you invite to your wedding today? Put them on a list. Those are kind of like your pillars.
Yep.
And just start calling them regularly and remind them what you do. Get that out of the way first, and then ask them how Aunt Millie is or whatever. Just make sure they know why you're calling. It's
Right.
not, you're not hiding it.
Right.
Hey, this is what I do. Just wanted to remind you, and start calling them. And I got 5 deals in my first month
Wow.
of doing real estate back in '05, and the refi boom had kind of ended already, and rates
Right.
were going up. So it wasn't a refi market. I got 5 deals, which might be the business of most regular loan officers today that have been doing it a while, but 5 in the first month because I called everybody that wanted to hear from me. You know, I didn't buy cold leads or, just people I knew.
Just talking.
Yeah.
Talking in relationships. What do you find the most rewarding about being a loan officer and being in this industry?
Just seeing people achieve home ownership and the happiness that it brings their family. Because really, I mean, it's, they're creating memories, like they say on Facebook. They're creating memories in their house, and it means something more than if they're renting that house, I think. And then the secondary thing that really is fulfilling is to see them create wealth. I mean, I talked to my clients just 2 years ago, and then I call them again today. And, we've talked in the meantime, but their equity is so much greater just in 2 years now. Probably when I first started buying real estate in 1990, you had to wait like 12 years to see that much equity. But the equity growth alone, the net worth of people is becoming a lot greater because of real estate.
Yeah. So you're helping people build memories and wealth all at the same time.
That's right. That's why I got into it.
I love it. Well, thank you, Tony. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything else
pleasure.
that you'd like to tell your audience?
You covered everything.
I love it. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Easy peasy.
Cool, man.
Do you want to record?